Tootie look. Just read this book and it'll tell you everything you need to know.
There's another N-word we throw around in and out of the black community called nappy. We have taken that word like the other N-word, nigger, and made it a word of adornment. I have heard the word nappy my entire life, which was used to insult, degrade, and hurt someone. This word is a derogatory term that was used in our ancestors to insult people.
Available now.
I love myself.
Same tree, different brand.
I hope you love yourself, because love is only love when you love somebody.
Shit! Hey, y'all, give me the motherfucking chainsaw, blood. This motherfucker was a trick. What's up now, motherfucker?
These niggas ain't bigger than me. These niggas ain't Nas, ain't Jigger than me. These niggas ain't M, they ain't 50 to me. You ain't Pun, you ain't Pop, you ain't Biggie to me. These niggas ain't Crips, they ain't 60s to me. These niggas ain't Bloods, they ain't dripping with me. Niggas talking that shit by the new generation, man. Fuck these niggas, I slash your fucking faces. You niggas ain't so shit, not an album or a rock. Pussy nigga putting rings on my old bitch. Dick down the throat ass niggas, old hoe ass niggas. Happy cause you went gold ass niggas. These niggas ain't spitting with me. You ain't sicker than me. Fuck out my section, you ain't sitting with me. This for very important people. It's clear that we not equal. Clear you niggas faggots. I'm the Black Marshall Matt. Like yin 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 on a motherfucker. Who needs Hulk Hogan when you got Sting on this motherfucker? Less than 5 albums, kiss the ring on this motherfucker. California throne and I'm the king on this motherfucker. I don't wanna hear it. Weak ass lyrics, crying on the hook, thinking we gon' feel it. Oh, lost ass niggas, voice crack when you talk ass nigga, rolling blunts for the boss ass niggas. I came in with Ye, Jeezy and boss ass niggas. Your freshman cover a whole bunch of soft ass niggas. Tampon lyricists evacuate the premises. Mute BET ciphers, cause I don't wanna hear that shit. May you rest in piss, you fuck niggas. Hey, Frank Ocean, go ahead, fuck these fuck niggas. Yeah, they fuck niggas. Ain't no 3 stacks in your class, so take your top 10 spot and shove it up your ass, bitch, boy. Niggas already fucked your bitch, you bitch, boy. And every time you kiss on that hoe, you suck my dick, you bitch, boy. And when you buy that hoe a bag, that bitch carry my bricks, you bitch, boy.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy Sean P in the place to be, man. Like the show, share the show, tell a friend. We live. It's your boy, man. It's your boy. Hey, I seen your little post. You try to put up a little day post talking about make me your moderator this month or some kind of crazy, whatever you said on it. That was pretty hilarious. That tickled me. But like the show, share the show, tell a friend. We're live. This is impromptu. I want to elaborate on something that I had mentioned on the Mossy Warrior Clan YouTube channel yesterday, and talking about like people in our community that like to throw around peer review. I'm gonna take a couple of shots, and they could take it however they want to take it, and I don't care. They don't affect anything that I got going on in my real world outside of this space. I'm not invested in them, so I'm not losing anything, right? By pissing them off, or saying what I'm going to say. I'm not losing anything. There's nothing that I've gained that could be lost pissing them off or saying what I got to say. So really doesn't matter ultimately one way or the other. It just needs to be said and documented. So here we go. I want to bring this conversation back to the whole peer review topic. When Unc and I was arguing back and forth with each other in that time frame. Now this isn't about so nah, this has nothing to do with Unc specifically. But in that, there were some things that I was uttering to people, and I don't think that people understood what I was talking about. And that was the challenges that the peer review process presents. And people thought I was crazy, thought that I was wrong, thinking I was attacking the process, saying it was the best thing that we actually have. I agree. It is a good thing that we have, but it also has its limitations. And can it be corrected? And what can we do to make it better? No one looked at the last thing that I just said. What can we do to make it better? The answer to that question is we can participate in the process. When I say we, I'm talking about the community of people who are subscribed to our channels, who pay attention to the information, who buy our books, support our works, read our articles. We, the people, right? This nucleus within a bigger circle, right? If there's a conscious community, then there's a subconscious community inside of the conscious community that doesn't operate in the same space, place, and time as the conscious community. So bring that conversation and that back and forth that I had with Brother Unc up until today or yesterday's, because today's Monday. So Man Cave show yesterday. What do we have here? We have a fast talking motherfucker on the panel talking about he got peer review sources. Never mind the fact that you did biased research. So listen to this when I tell you this, all right? I want to make myself very clear. Listen to this when I tell you this. I cannot be more specific than what I need to do over here. Denise, only men. No, it ain't. Don't know only no men get ranches over here because it's what's the name of them got ranches? So I don't want to hear none of that. Get on out of here talking about only men get ranches over here. If they comment in the chat, you see who get ranches. Don't play with me, player. You distracting my bill right now, talking about ranches. I'll give you a ranch when I get ready. Now, so there's this argument about Greenberg, right? And his methods that he didn't use to draw the conclusions that he drew in his linguistic work when qualifying his tree of languages on Africa. He didn't deal with any African languages, any African linguist, or anyone that was tied to Africa in building his linguistic tree. So let me make sure that you understand what I'm saying. Greenberg did not even care to include any African country, any African linguist, any African scholar in compiling his research and data and presenting it as a language family. He didn't follow his own method. What the hell that got to do with anything? Well, there's a clique of people in our community or a smaller sub-circle of a subconscious community that loves Greenberg. He pushes the notion of Afro-Asiatic, a pseudo-linguistic language family, with no record or reference to going into Africa and dealing with African linguists or languages to help him compile the data and present it to people. He felt privileged enough to do this without a say on that. And these Negroes that subscribe to this language family assumes that this is science or that the evidence is right and exact. Sean, what are you saying? Okay, well, I'm saying that there is bias at play, right? Because at first they were trying to use the Hermetic thing, and Greenberg, when he did what he did was try to remove the religious connotations of how they were trying to name the language family, and he renames it to what he wants to rename it, and it's no problem when he does it. It's cool when you do it. Surprise will not do it, right? So now we have a problem. So you have other linguists of African stock that begin to redo all of that on their own merit and present their own information out there. And then the group that sides with Greenberg says that this is right. Now, here goes the problem. Okay? All right. Here go the problem. The Negroes that agree with Greenberg never read one African linguist work on the same subject matter. Not one. Now, they said that they translated Mboli's book. I mean, well, I'm saying Mboli, not Mboli. Shoot, y'all know what I'm talking about. I can't even think of his name right now because I got so much on my mind. But they said they translated his book from French to English pretty recent here, maybe the last 2 years, whatever the case may be, and then they read it or whatever the case is. Okay, so if you translated it and you read it, right? Do you even understand what you read? That's for one. Two, do you understand how to build and construct a language family, right? Morphology, syntax, get into all of those nuances, the nuts and bolts, the tedious work. This is where the challenge lies. And they ain't done that work. They don't know how to build a language family. They don't know how to construct. All they know how to do is argue and then deal with and say, well, the peer review process is this on the subject matter. So what we're going to do today, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to get into science literacy and the importance in helping evaluate information. Now, the reason we're going to get into that is because here lies the problem with these Negroes. Now, I'm going to name them Negroes so you know specifically the loudest Negroes on this subject matter, all right, that had some kind of fucked up way, Unc. I know you listening, but some kind of fucked up way you let a nigga that ain't never did no work on shit influence you about some shit he ain't never done no work on. I don't know how that happened, big bro. I don't know when we start letting that happen. The evidence moves us. I thought being scientifically literate, we allow the evidence to move us. But some kind of way, Gullah Geechee can influence a motherfucker long enough to move him off his point. This was news to me when I found this out. It was shocking Disturbing. No written work, no understanding of the actual science, ain't did no, in 11 or 12 or 13 years on the subject matter, he ain't influenced or brought nothing forward to the community to advance the subject matter. He ain't falsified no one's work in this. So how the fuck is we listening to him? Ngozi, same motherfucker. Running around here in the Tufian, the E1, I1, B1A, that fast talking motherfucking con man, palm reader. Him. How? Sway? He don't even know nothing about languages. His code of conduct is always gonna be DNA. And just about a quarter, maybe a third, maybe I'm not a quarter, but a third of that might be a little iffy to geneticists. But he be running it down. But okay. So these two people, and then they got a little clique. I don't even know if the clique is still formed or whatnot, but they were in these positions or in these circles where they wanted to argue for Greenberg and his work. And that's cool. Okay, yeah. I got you. But have you read the work on the other side of the argument? And the answer has been no. So how could you formulate an honest conclusion and present it to the community if you've never really fully read the other side of the argument or even understood the methodology that went forth in Asar's work, Bololo's work, Obanga's work? I'm just naming some people out there. So now, let me share my screen. Because none of this shit makes sense unless I'm sharing my screen. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring you here. This is a week 5 course on Coursera. Of course, you know I'm completed with it. You've seen the certificate. I got all of that already in the description, in the thumbnail of the video. And I know y'all was thinking like, the fuck is this dude doing with a certificate up there and all this yada yada, right? I know what y'all was thinking. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to eliminate, you see all my green checks right here. So I wanted to eliminate all of this and I wanted to do this from scratch with y'all, okay? Because I felt like more than me needed this information. More than me needed this. Yeah, Consul, Melvin, Cuban, yep, all of the pseudo motherfuckers. Especially Consul, he a con man too. Melvin's follow the pack. Follow the pack. Well, whatever the case may be. So what is the peer review process? All right, look what it says here. Let me zoom in. Peer review process is a primary source in science, is the authoritative research document that is the first-hand report of the process of science and associated findings and interpretations from experts doing the research. A secondary source has analyzed, synthesized, and reinterpreted science findings from primary sources. The peer review process is used to ensure the science being published is of high quality. Peer review is required by scholarly articles before the findings are published. Peer reviewers are other experts in the field that also perform experiments and have strong understandings of the limitations of the methods and analysis in the scientific field. And if peer review is not done, like in mainstream media, then bad science could mislead the public leading who have access to the publishing article. So, it seems like peer-reviewed primary sources in science are considered to be the most valid source of evidence. But what is peer review process? So we're going to watch this video and we're going to update ourselves on this process. And we're going to find out. Now, I know you already see on the screen that the peer review process isn't perfect. I understand that. I know that you see that on the screen. There's no hiding that. I've already said this before. I said this a while ago when I was arguing with people that we needed to be involved in these processes, and people thought I was crazy, and next thing you know what I'm saying, the band of brothers broke up over whatever their odds are, and it has nothing to do with anything, but let's just go forward. So now y'all already know that I gotta stop sharing. I have to stop sharing, and I have to reshare the YouTube. So just bear with me. Let me stop my sharing. Let me get this up on the screen. And let's deal with Misha as she explains the peer review process. Now, why am I doing this? Because it's going to allow us to evaluate everything being argued in the community. That's going to allow us to correct Garfield's slow ass when it comes to shit. It's going to allow us to deal with Ngozi and his bullshit. It's going to allow us to even check me, Asar, everybody, Wu Jawu. Ain't listen, no one is above critique. Cuban Crisis pseudo as hell, but it's okay. A lot of people we like pseudo.
Hey, Zach, where are you headed?
Hi Misha, I'm on my way to the library. I need peer-reviewed or refereed sources for an assignment.
Cool. But those are the same thing.
Really? Now I'm confused. I don't understand peer review, or why I need it. What is peer review anyway?
It's how publishers make sure that new articles are high quality and add to the body of knowledge in a discipline.
How does it work?
It varies across disciplines, but the basics are the same for most fields.
Want to tell me about the basics?
No problem. The first thing to know about peer review is that authors who want to publish in academic or scholarly journals have to submit their papers for consideration.
Yeah, but don't all authors have to do that? Even for regular magazines?
Sort of. But once the paper is submitted to a scholarly journal, it goes through peer review by the author's colleagues. Regular magazines like Time and People have editors, but no peer review requirements.
So who are these peer reviewers?
They are the researchers who are experts in their fields. For example, peer reviewers for the Journal of Marine Biology are marine biologists. When an article is submitted, it is reviewed by experts in the same topic as the new article.
How many peer reviewers look at each paper?
It depends on the journal, but usually more than 2.
And what are the reviewers looking for? Things like spelling and grammar?
They make sure that the article is a good fit for the journal, it is well written, and the data and ideas are clear and accurate. They also make sure that the paper adds something new to the discipline.
What if the paper doesn't do all of those things?
The peer reviewers will suggest that it not be accepted, or they'll recommend that it be revised.
Wow. So the publication process might take several months.
Right. But without peer review, bad data could get out there, misinforming other researchers' work. One more thing. Journal editors ask researchers to review manuscripts on a volunteer basis. It's part of professors' service to their fields.
I never knew that. How do journals keep professors from giving their friends better reviews than other people?
Good question. One of the goals of peer review is to reduce bias, so the review process is blind.
Huh?
The reviewers often don't know whose papers they are reviewing, and authors usually don't know who reviews their papers.
That makes sense. And you say that the process is different depending on the field of research.
Yes. In many of the sciences, the research involves experiments, lab work, or field work. This generates data sets. Reviewing the data sets is an important part of peer review in those fields. If the data is collected or recorded incorrectly, researchers who use the results as a basis for their own work will have problems.
Seriously.
And in the social sciences, like psychology, research can involve surveys or focus groups. Studies using human subjects must follow specific regulations. The types of questions are important too. Qualified peer reviewers look at all of those pieces before publication.
So, peer-reviewed articles are better because so many people are looking at so many pieces?
Yes, exactly.
But what if a study turns out to be false or inaccurate later?
If that happens, the journal publishes a retraction saying that the article has particular problems and should be used with caution.
Well, knowing all of this makes me feel better.
I'm glad. So, think you're ready to start looking for peer-reviewed sources?
I think so.
Great. You're on the right track. Our librarians can tell you exactly where to look for peer-reviewed articles, and you can even get help online. For now, go to the library.
Okay, Misha. And thanks for everything.
Good luck with your paper, Jack.
All right, so that's the video. That's the video right there. Okay, let's stop sharing that. Now we just watched the video. Now let's get back to where we was at. Now our answer to the question is already in the chat. It's a good question. Let me bring it up on the screen first. The bar reloaded says, should you get peer reviewed by people who aren't your colleagues? I would, if they are in the field, if they're experts in the field of study in which your work, you're trying to, get your work reviewed, I highly would recommend that. Usually it is people that you may not even have any ties to, but if it is people that you have ties to, then I highly suggest you get your peers and people that are not your colleagues that are in that field as well. So that weeds out bias, right? And then, or someone with an opposite opinion or finding, someone with an opposite opinion or finding is going to push, it is going to be biased. So you want to eliminate bias in this process. If you sit there and you deal with someone that's arguing against you, then all it's going to be is going to turn out, a back and forth, which also can be healthy as well, because you can hash out your differences, and then they may have some findings that might help substantiate you or change the parameter of it. But I think it all works itself out. Now, the peer review isn't perfect. Scholarly articles are written for other scholars and scientists and can appear inaccessible to the citizen scientists. Peer reviewers judge the quality and significance of research. Peer reviewers make recommendations to the journal's editor about if the paper should be accepted or rejected. It is common for peer reviewers to reject the paper or accept it with revisions. Not everything in scholarly journals are, listen to me, not everything in scholarly journals are peer-reviewed, and not all peer-reviewed articles are without errors. So always evaluate the article and evidence yourself before accepting the conclusion. Here lies the problem in our community. We don't evaluate the article and evidence ourselves before accepting the conclusion. These dudes wholeheartedly accepted Greenberg, even knowing, well, they didn't know at first, but after knowing or finding out that he didn't follow his own method that other people are implying. What was his reason for constructing a language family for Africa? He wasn't from Africa. The man's an American. He's a European. Why would he have a say over African languages? Who gave him the authority to be an expert on African languages, which he doesn't speak or even know. How do I find peer-reviewed articles? Well, we're gonna watch these 3 videos here, and we're gonna find out. We're gonna get into that. What up, Ramon? But it says peer-reviewed articles are better because many scientists are reviewing the science in an unbiased way to ensure it is of the highest quality. Now, remember, Brother Unk told y'all that he ain't no expert. I ain't no expert. But we can be experts in evaluating data. We don't have to be experts like the experts. But if we evaluate and understand the data, we trust the process, the science. We don't have to be the expert, but we could be working toward perfection at understanding how to evaluate and qualify sources. So given how the peer review process produces publications that are most accurate to the scientific findings, you may want to read more of them to get your science news rather than relying on secondary sources in mainstream media. However, peer-reviewed journal subscriptions are extremely expensive, making it hard to access all peer-reviewed literature. University libraries are major subscribers to scholarly journals and therefore a good resource to find reviewed scientific publications. That means if you don't have a library card and you want to get further into these studies, I highly recommend you do what this is referring you to do, and that is to get you a university. If you can get registered to the university library, get access to a university library, then you could access all of the journals. But how exactly do you find peer-reviewed scholarly articles? How often? How do you know if an article is scholarly? So we're gonna watch these videos, right? And just bear with me because I have to share, unshare, and all of that. But I want to bring each one of them up. I want to bring each one of them up first. So therefore, all I got to do is click over when I share, and then we should be able to. I think that we should be able to play with the volume here. It's the first video name. Peer review for journal articles. Boom.
Seconds. This simple but brilliant trick you can do tonight.
Scholarly articles, academic articles, peer-reviewed articles. You may have heard these terms used by your professor, but what do they mean? Essentially, these are all different ways of describing the same thing: research articles that have been published in scholarly journals. But what is a research article, and how does it get published in a scholarly journal? The article reports a scholar's research practice and findings, and it's written with an audience of other researchers in mind. In order to be published and accepted by the scholarly community, the article has to go through a process called peer review. When a researcher wants to share a discovery with the academic community, first they must write a draft article and submit it for publication in a scholarly journal. Then the journal's editor reads over the article to decide whether it's a good fit for the journal. If it is, the editor sends copies of the article to a group of experts to evaluate its quality. These experts are the author's peers since they work in the same research area. Each reviewer evaluates the article by asking questions to judge the quality and significance of the research. Questions like, what is this research about? Is it interesting? Is it important? Is the methodology sound? Are the conclusions logical? And are the findings original? Based on the answers to these questions, The reviewers decide whether the article is worthy of publication in the journal. They then make a recommendation to the editor, either accept the article for publication or reject it. Even if they recommend publishing the article, they usually expect the author to make some revisions. The editor makes the final determination about whether the article should be accepted, rejected, or revised. Rejection is common. The most prestigious journals are very selective about the articles they publish, so they tend to have high rejection rates. Some journals reject more than 90% of the submissions they receive. From the time the researcher first submits a draft article to the time it's finally published, many months may have passed. Once the journal issue is published, it's made available to subscribers who are usually university libraries. Subscriptions are very expensive, often hundreds or thousands of dollars a year. Keep in mind that the peer review system has its critics, and scholars continue to think about how it might be improved. Also, not everything that's published in a scholarly journal is peer-reviewed. For example, there are usually editorials or opinion pieces that do not go through the same peer review process as journal articles. So make sure to be critical and evaluate all of the information that you find. If you have questions about peer review, ask for help at the library.
All right, so
You have a research
hold on, let me make sure that y'all can hear that. Okay, so y'all can.
topic and key terms in mind. What's next? Before you begin to search for information, you need to know how to connect your terms so that you can find relevant results. If you just type all of your terms into a database, you'll likely end up with information that doesn't really match your topic, or you might just get 0 results. This is because library databases work by finding information that matches all of the terms you enter. You need to use connecting words called Boolean operators to tell a database exactly how to search. Here's how Boolean operators work. Whenever you have 2 or more different concepts, such as doping and cycling, put the word "and" in between them. This will find sources that include both terms. It makes your search more specific. There are lots of concepts that can be described in multiple ways using related terms or synonyms. For example, doping is also described as the use of performance-enhancing drugs. Articles that include either or both of those terms would be relevant. In cases like this, put the word "or" in between the terms. Each of the results will include the term doping or performance-enhancing drugs, or both. But this is a really broad search. To make it specific to cycling, you need to use both "or" and together. To do this, put parentheses around the related terms, doping or performance-enhancing drugs. Then you can add the second concept, cycling, with an "and." Now the database will find articles that include either doping or performance-enhancing drugs, specifically in relation to cycling. You can make the search even more specific by adding another concept, such as psychology. Just remember that each time you add another "and," you'll get fewer results because the search is narrower. You'll probably need to try out multiple searches on your way to finding information about your topic. That's okay. That's how the research process works. Librarians can help you fine-tune your searches so that you find the most relevant results for your topic. Just ask for help at the library.
And the lesbian. All right, so there go the 3 videos. Now, top tips summarized. University libraries have different databases to find peer-reviewed scholarly journals. You could also use Google Scholar, which you can go to https:// or // whatever the case, scholar.google.ca/ and enter keywords related to your topic within the search box. Try multiple searches within your database. Change search terms. More specific terms may help refine your findings. Insert in between 2 concepts to make search more specific. Use related terms and enter the word or between terms. Put parentheses around related terms and cross and add additional concept by inserting in after each word. And then last, ask for help from a librarian to fine-tune your search. So, how do you read a peer-reviewed primary article? How do you read that? All right. Now that you have found some papers you would like to review to evaluate evidence that supports or refutes a claim, have a plan for how you want to read and study the contents of the paper. This video, right, should provide you with some basic strategies that are helpful for evaluating academic or scholarly writings in your scientific field of study. Peep game. Let me make sure that you can hear the audio. Let me make sure that you can hear this.
Okay, so here's the situation. You spend all day playing latest video game involving guns, and now you have an article summary due tomorrow. This video is here to help you find the best and quickest way to extract the information you need from an academic paper. The first thing to be aware of is that academic papers are not written the same way as other forms of literature. You may be tempted to read them through from beginning to end, like a short story or a newspaper article. Do not do this. There are more efficient ways to read papers. What we're going to do is read through the paper in 3 passes. In the first pass, we want to see the framework of the paper. The things we want to look at are the abstract, the introduction and conclusion, section headings, and any tables or diagrams, including their captions. As you're skimming, underline any unfamiliar words or phrases for you to look up later. As you read through the paper for the first time, ask yourself questions such as, what is the point or thesis of this paper? What are the main arguments of the paper? Why is this paper important? And how does it contribute to my field of study? You may not be able to answer all these questions yet, but it's good to keep them in mind. If you have any other questions, make sure to write those down too. At the end of your first pass, try to summarize the paper in a sentence or 2, in your own words. If you can do that, you've gotten what you need to out of your first pass. The second pass is where you really dig into the paper. Pay closer attention to the beginning and ending of each major section. Also, pay attention to any of the highlighted sections from the first pass. If there are still words or phrases that you don't understand, now is the time to look them up. Try to answer all of the questions you wrote down earlier. The third and final pass is where you tie it all together. You should have a good idea of what the paper is trying to say at this point, so now it's time to train a critical eye on it. This is the time for reflection and analysis. Take notes as you read, looking at arguments, evidence, and conclusions. By the time you are done this, you should have the basis for your summary completed. Try to use your own words as much as you can, rather than copying and pasting quotes. Here are some of the questions you should try to answer by the end of this pass, depending on what type of paper it is. Did the authors do what they set out to do? Are the methods they used sound? Are their arguments fluid and logical? What assumptions did they make? Now you may have noticed my big assumption, which is that you've already selected a worthwhile article to read. In the case of an assigned reading, that's already been taken care of. If you're doing research though, you'll need to do some work to see whether a particular paper is worth investing your time in reading at all. That, however, is a task for another video.
All right, so now review the abstract, introduction, figures, subheadings, and conclusion. This is how to read an academic paper. Review the abstract, okay? Remember, I was talking to Zab, and Zab was using ChatGPT as a source to debate against YK the Truth. ChatGPT is unreliable because it doesn't take him to the primary, and he kept on saying that he got the primary. Well, he kept having screenshots of the actual article or the source article, but some of them were secondary sources. But that's a topic for another day. However, because I showed the primary. However, he didn't read the abstract. He read what ChatGPT told him, which could be incorrect, mixed match data, and not represent the actual source. So when he felt like he was in a debate and he had some information that he summarized himself, he was wrong. He didn't read the abstract. He didn't read the introduction. He didn't look at the figures. He didn't know nothing about the subheadings, and he damn sure didn't read the conclusions because he was under the assumption that there were limitations to something that he didn't understand the article weeded out. Now, highlight words or phrases you do not understand. Everybody should know this. This is old information. If there's a word you don't understand it, look the damn word up, read the word, and then make sure you comprehend it. Now, read the paper in 3 passes. I know a lot of y'all don't have time to read 3 times, but if you read it in a few passes, you can understand it, and then you can evaluate evidence and then the conclusion. These are tips to help you be more literate in your approach toward this subject matter. Excuse Tyson as he wants to make a lot of noise. Hold on one second. As a matter of fact, let me get Caleb on to do this. Where is Caleb at? Caleb is the first child home today. All right. You finna get out, my nigga. You ain't gotta look at me like you crazy. All right, so now it says Misha explains the peer review process. We don't even care nothing about that. Let's go to step 2. All right. So real quick, it's more of the same. Now, I don't want to trick it. I don't trick nobody or get into any of that, but I don't want to read a lot of this. But this is telling us while you're going through it, try to read the article for understand the hypothesis being tested, evaluate the evidence collected, tentatively conclude if the evidence is proportional to the claims, and if further analysis is considered, consideration is needed before developing a conclusion. You will not need to finish this reading to complete the next activity, or you would need to. But listen, I'm going to click on this article. We are going to look at this article. This is an example of what they just talked about in the last few videos. Frontiers for Young Minds. This is Biodiversity, published June 2019. There's a DOI, which will take you to an actual source, and it goes from that. Now, the title of this is Are City Kids Missing Out on Nature? Before reading this at all, I want people in the chat to answer the question. See, Chavis is probably on this chapter because he, you know what I'm saying? He is doing the 5. He's finishing up. But anyway, are city kids missing out on nature? Yes or no? All right. One person says yes. No one else has answered quite yet. All right. So more and more research is showing how spending time in nature is good for your health and development. Yet children living in urban areas, towns, and cities may find it difficult to spend time in nature. The neighborhoods may have little nearby nature to interact with, or they may not be allowed travel on their own to reach natural spaces. Missing out on spending time in nature means children are becoming more disconnected from the natural world. We wanted to understand if children living in urban areas have access to nature in their neighborhoods. Then, if they do have access to nature, do they prefer to spend time in nature? Or in the minds in other kinds of spaces, what reasons either prevent or encourage use of natural spaces? Our work reveals some new findings on how children interact with nature and how we can improve our urban areas to support nature's connection. Hold on, y'all. Student can't get. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Parenting 101 while you're live. Quit looking at me, dude. I'm finna tell him to come get you. Now, the human habitat. We are willing to bet that you live in an urban area such as a town or a city. Most of the world's population does, and more people are moving into urban areas every year. Urban areas are very different environments from those in which our ancestors lived. Our ancestors made their homes in woodlands, grasslands, wetlands, beaches, and scrubland. Most of us today live in environments dominated by man-made structures like buildings and roads. While urban areas do contain nature of a kind, this nature is often very different from the wild nature we see outside our cities and towns and rural areas. For example, think of parks, gardens, or yards. These spaces are green and can contain many species of plants and animals, but the number of these species and their abundance, that is, their biodiversity, is usually lower than that of natural environments like woodlands and beaches. Now, this shift from living in rural to urban environments means there has been a massive change in our surroundings and how we interact with nature in our daily lives. In our research, we wanted to look at how many children growing up in urban areas interacted with nature around them. We wanted to explore the key theories related to this question, which we will explain. So the article goes on and they deal with two theories. Two, yeah, this is in the course, Sutek. The first theory is called the biophilia hypothesis. Now, proposed in the 80s, it suggests that people have an inborn preference for nature, bio, and an attraction, philia, to nature things or places. The idea is that those areas that were richer in plants and animals were better places for humans to survive and thrive. This theory suggests that our ancestors developed an attraction to natural spaces where they spent more time and were more likely to settle, and that this attraction remains in modern humans despite our drastic change in habit. The second theory is nature deficient disorder. This theory came from the idea that children today are spending less time out in nature and as a result are suffering more and more from problems such as difficulty concentrating, high stress levels, poor physical health. What is more, not spending as much time with nature means that children today are not learning as much about nature nor establishing a connection to it. There are interesting questions that come from these two theories. If biophilia is presented in children today, and if urban areas containing some places that have more biodiversity than others, then children should be attracted to spend time in these more natural places. By doing this, they maintain their connection to nature and perhaps reduce the possibility of developing nature deficient disorder. However, in biophilia is not present, then nature deficient disorder might become more difficult to prevent. By exploring how children interact with urban nature, we hope to better understand whether growing up in urban environments be harmful to children's well-being. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of that. I'm not going to read this entire article to you, but If you take the course, you can read it and you can come up with some stuff. I realize that my brothers are in the chat and they are trying to get to this. I don't think that link gonna post good. If it does, then oh well, then it did. But if you could access that link, great. But if you sign up for the course, you'll be dealing with the information anyway in its totality. But I don't want to give out any answers because they got to take the test and they got to get through all of this, right? But I want to move a little bit further. I want to go to something because as you can see in each one of these points, using statistics in peer review, practical versus statistical in peer review, media tactic, bias, public understanding by misinterpreting scientific findings, evaluating science news for misinformation, like all of this, like science, scientists communicating science, the whole nine. Like it's a ton of things that are going on here that matters. Okay. So I think it's in 5.5. Let me get to it. Let me see. These drag and drops are dope. Disparity in social media. Watch. No, it ain't that one. Now, this one right here, you click on this link, you can drag and drop stuff, but I ain't trying to do that with y'all right now. There's, hold on, let me go back. There's a lot of useful information in this. And this is the reason why that I'm even trying to show y'all this shit. Because all the people that's talking a lot of noise are not really participating in the in the scientific process, and they're not really science literate, in my opinion. I think a lot of the people that are talking about, they got primaries, they got peer review, they got this, they got that. All of them that are doing all of that, I'm gonna say this very nicely to all the people who are running around here talking about they got this, they got that for evidence to argue against something, are not participating in the science literacy process. They are faking it until they make it, and they are convincing in their arguments. They're not participating in the science literacy process, not even science process, because they're adhering to the fallacy of appealing to credentials, right? They say, oh, I'm gonna appeal to the credentials so that I don't have to qualify how they came to a conclusion. This is a problem, y'all. This is a problem. So as you can see, this whole thing focuses on evaluating information and all of that. So this is really on some gang stuff, scholastically, right? Because you got a plethora of people who think that they're participating in the scientific process, and they ain't did shit. They ain't did nothing. No, I'm not never nice. I'm not being nice about nothing. These dudes is trash. Trash. When they throw out the word peer review, who was a part of the peer review process? Did we find any type of bias in this peer review process? Could it have been revealed? What are other experts saying about this particular article that you claim to be peer reviewed and supports your argument? I want to know. Because yesterday, Ngozi sound just like Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. You know, when Dr. Ivan Van Sertima said that shit about West Africans, that he had the linguistic evidence, that he had the paleontological evidence, that he had archaeological evidence, that he had anthropolitical evidence. You remember that line that he said all of that shit? That's how Ingalls it said sounded yesterday. So how did you qualify all the evidence? Did you adhere to or did you appeal to? And that's absolutely fucking correct. Because no expert is going to tell you to follow them. They're going to tell you to follow the process. So this course, I highly recommend to anyone that if you're studying history, if you love history, this will help you be a better researcher at history. If you love science, this will tighten up your scientific approach. If you're trying to improve your methodology and your research skill, this course will help you do this. All of those things. It would help you immediately recognize bias. So if you go watch Man Cave Sundays or any show that Garfield does this week, you're going to hear bias on a panel full of motherfuckers that don't know what the fuck they talking about. Ain't got nothing to do with Garfield. It's a fact. You're going to hear the bias. You're going to recognize it. If we are to be scientifically literate, then we need literacy classes to help us understand how to evaluate data, right? So that we can do a better job at coming to honest conclusions and dealing with the bias and non-bias approaches that our people tend to take. I didn't even show them about the pseudosciences and none of the other stuff. I didn't get into those other courses. For a reason, I didn't get into those other courses. But I should have. And basically, I'll do it right now. But so week 1, you know, this is what you deal with week 1 when it comes up. Shit, if I can click on it. You basically just go through all of this. Introduction to science. It deals with all that other stuff. You know, you can go through and you can go to week 2. Pseudoscience. All the science and pseudoscience stuff. Week 3. Thinking critically. Remember, we've been on the critical thinking on this channel. We got hella sources regarding that. Scientific methods. Right? So this is bringing it all together for you. Interpreting evidence. So now you know what's going on right here. Like we ain't even trying. I'm not playing with nobody. I'm not playing with nobody. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those of you out there, it's the same link from last night, Juju. The link that I gave you is the same link from last night. And it's in the description of this video. So if you're looking for the link that I dropped last night, and the link is also in the description of the video to sign up for the classes. So it is what it is. And we have to do a better job of holding these people accountable. If you're allowing them to entertain you for 3, 4, 5 hours, and we're talking information, and we're going through sources and this, that, and the third, then you would know how to qualify sources, reject sources, and be like, hey, you didn't even do this or do that. Just got a text from a cousin. And that's how we're going to play that game. Yeah, it does. but it also shows you how to identify the premise, etc. Sean taught me most of all this shit for this class already. Yeah. A lot of the stuff that's in this class, yes, we have talked about, argued about, and to understand it. This is why I always ask people, right? When they come argue with us, right? I always ask them, how did you come to the conclusion? How did you come to that conclusion? What evidence did you have that supports how you came to that conclusion? And they never can answer it. I bet you if I go over there and I ask Ngozi, how did he come to the conclusion that Greenberg is right about the language family? He gonna say, well, I got a peer review article. I guarantee you he's gonna refer to something else and not the evidence. He will not be able to pinpoint the evidence to show us and demonstrate to us how he came to the conclusion. So I'm not listening to him. I'm not listening to him. I'm not listening to Gullah Geechee. Like I said before, it's nothing personal about those dudes. Those dudes are great individuals and all of that. But when it comes to set subjects, nah, I'm not listening to them niggas. Look at Chavis in the chat. Because it is a fact. They can't point you in a direction to how they came to the conclusion. They're going to point you in the directions and say, well, this peer review article said this, and they saying this, but okay, so where's Asar wrong? If everybody keeps saying Asar is wrong, identify Asar's errors to me, please. Identify his errors. I'm tired of people talking about Asar behind his back. Go get your motherfucking evidence, demonstrate it, and show me where he is wrong. Where in his language phylums, where in it did he make the mistake? Where is it biased at? The whole nine. I want every one of them. Go, show me. You motherfuckers can't do it. And to my dear brother, do not ever let no dude that you ain't seen not an ounce of work from influence you to come to a conclusion on somebody that you have a relationship with for more than 10 plus years. And the work that they've done, they have shown their work. Asar has shown his work. What work have you seen from Gullah Geechee that falsifies Asar's work? It can't be an opinion. It can't be these peer review people say this, and you can't adhere to some Afro-Asiatic bullshit because it supports one of the key principles in your argument about evolution. That ain't scientific. Big bro, that's not scientific. That there's an accountability for that we all have to endure. We know, we should understand how science works. We know that there's elements of information that's inside of other arguments that might even be supportive of where we are. But that doesn't dismiss your point of what you're arguing, It doesn't. The validity of the entire language phylum shouldn't be rested on you coming to a conclusion that Asar is wrong. How? How is he wrong? We don't have that. None of them have produced that. They've had 12 years to produce this information about Asar, Mboli, Bololo, Chavis. What's my boy name, man? I keep his what's my boy name, Chavis? You're gonna make me have to go on Facebook and look this dude up. Golly, man. Why come I can't think of his name? It started with an M. Mboli. I already said Mboli. Nah, the other dude's another one. So there's no integrity in these people that I'm talking about. Gullah might be good in other demeanors, but I just don't think that he has scientific integrity. I don't think that Ngozi has scientific integrity. I don't think a lot of them have science. Yeah, I don't think that none of those dudes have integrity. No, you good. You good. So that's where we are with this. So I hope today kind of shed some light on why I stress science literacy, and it's important in helping us evaluate information, because there's a process, and the course that I provided in the description allows us an opportunity to build and develop on that process, hone in on that process, and make it ours. So that's all I got for today, man. I'm not doing any arguing. You know what I mean? We're gonna deal with what we need to deal with. I gotta work on this video, so a couple versions of this video, and I want to kind of do that today. And I might come back, I don't know. But it's your boy Sean P in the place to be, and I'm out.
I don't listen to people that I can't learn from. So I don't listen to interviews of artists that don't have no value in what they say. I don't listen to music from people that I can't get no game from. Are you the smartest one in your team? Definitely not. I might be the dumbest one.
So we have a lot to do. We must do our business, what we have to do the job. And we are not against anybody. It's not to be against. It's to know more about yourself and more about humanity, and try to bring contribution to the is like that. So this complex of inferiority is over. Like to say I'm doing well, I'm okay, healing me. Heal what? You are not sick. Well, heal for what? You have to do the job. We must do the job. We do well in some in art, in music, in athletics. We do well. We must do the same in business. We do well. We must in politics. We do well. So we must do well in a pure intellect business. We must do well too. Why not? We must learn Medu nature. We must know African language, African philosophy, African spirituality, African culture, African values. Know that very well. Bring that on table. Be proud of that. Because if it's lost, humanity will lose something. So it's good for us to bring this kind of. If they don't study Buddhism, we lose Buddhism. They must study Buddhism. If they don't study Christianity, the Bible, we lose that too. So it's good to study. Everything is a part of humanity, is a legacy. So we study because it's part of humanity. It's not to say we are proud, we did, Kemet, they did. Now we have to build a new pyramid. That's all. New schools, new homes, new families, new community, not people in jail, nothing like that. Be there and do well and be positive. This is what we have to do now.
I offended anybody, please forgive me, I'm so not sorry. You won't smoke, just keep it between me and you to get that pronto. They said smoke in the album, now they kept it.